Hello, friends. It's Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Selden, and I've seen almost everything.
I'm Danielle, and I've seen almost nothing.
I'm Nella, and this movie lives rent-free in my head.
Our movie night has a special guest.
Yay, I'm so happy that I actually had time to join you, but I had to. This is the superior version of that Fringe episode with the alien and the dude in space.
The cosmonaut.
Like, yes. So
for reference, season 2, episode 6, Earthling.
Okay, well, I've already forgotten.
Venom is 100% what that episode should have been.
Yes.
And wasn't.
Yes. But that's okay because we have Venom and everything's okay. Chef's kiss, this movie.
A gem of a film.
It's funny, I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and she's a YouTuber, and she was saying how, well, I keep trying to make a content about it, but I don't know what to say outside of, it's good, actually. I want everyone to come back with me for a brief moment back to the year 2018 when this movie came out. Okay, do you know what the top 10 highest grossing films of that year were? Hear me out. We had Avengers: Infinity War, Black Panther, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, Incredibles 2, Aquaman, Bohemian Rhapsody, Mission Impossible: Fallout, Deadpool 2, Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, and Venom. I'd stare at that list and I feel like Venom somehow was both high grossing, but yet somehow like skirted under like all like the possible Twitter.
I feel exactly the same way. For some reason, I think Venom just kind of exists outside of time in my brain.
It like exists outside of the discourse.
Yeah,
with a capital
exactly.
D, which is great because that's why I love living here. It's just a cozy place.
What if we had a cozy discourse-free zone?
Right? Like, nobody getting, like, pissy about how, like, well, it's an abusive relationship, actually, like, with this alien symbiote that doesn't exist, like, in real life. You know, nothing like that.
Yeah. I mean, as established in whatever podcast episode that was, listeners, tell us. I don't spend a lot of time online. I don't know what the discourse is. I really do watch almost everything in this happy little bubble of enjoyment.
My favorite part about Venom is the fact that there's not a whole lot of shipping war about it in this oddly supportive movie, which is just like relationship support for just a mess of a human being.
As and I'm paraphrasing this, as once said on Tumblr, the story of Venom, this movie, is about a hot mess and his parasite boyfriend and his ex and her awesome boyfriend, and everyone coming together to help support the hot mess.
And take
Where's
down
the lie,
a
though?
fairly evil individual.
I mean, pretty much taking down not Elon Musk, so.
Right.
The not we introduced the not Elon Musk.
Like, this billionaire space race thing is just kind of wild to me. I know.
That's why I was like, I mean, I can't even bring up one name at this point. We should probably bring up multiple
3
people.
billionaires
Swear jar.
measuring each other right now. 3 of them.
I mean, at least Drake made some significant scientific advances, I suppose, before he attempted to go off into...
One of Nella's biggest pet peeves is when everybody tries to oops eugenics. And she's just like, why are we here?
So you're trying to commit a eugenics.
Listen, for all of his talk, I don't believe for a second that he was planning on taking most of the people on planet Earth with him.
No, of course not.
No
No one ever does.
I mean, on that comet, whatever devices they were using were able to detect millions of these symbiotes.
Yeah.
And if there are only millions of symbiotes, then no, he was not going to save everyone on the planet.
Well, you see, if the symbiotes just polyp off and make more symbiotes, like how we get Carnage, then that won't be a problem, you know? Just it's like the vaccine rollout, you know?
Well, we all know how that went. So many hot takes in 6 minutes. Oh no.
I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting here watching that timer and just being like, I don't know how much to edit in there, but I'm just gonna make a mental note right now.
Before we get talking about Venom, I need a moment to condense my Tom Hardy power hour in like I don't know, 15 minutes or less. Like, because I love Tom Hardy. And the thing is, like, I would say I've loved Tom Hardy since 2009. And the reason is because of Star Trek, oh no, they didn't Star Trek, which was a live journal community. And, the Star Trek 2009 reboot happened, and everyone who'd ever wanted a shit-posting place in fandom for Star Trek and never really found it suddenly had it. Like, and the shit posts, I can't even begin to tell you how amazing of a time it was. But of course, everyone was watching all the old Star Trek stuff. And if you had been in any Star Trek property, we would go through your entire backlog because you were part of the fam. Like, so we did this with all the actors, including Tom Hardy, who, in what many say is the worst Star Trek movie, plays Picard's clone. Like a weird. And it's weird, but he's great. And he's so young. But because of that, we ended up watching things like Bronson, which is also an incredibly weird movie, but he's so good in it, where he plays, how to describe Bronson? So Bronson was a criminal. He's considered like England's most dangerous criminal, and he's always been in prison, and he's just like nuts. And Tom Hardy plays him. And it's like this kind of amazing movie of physical prowess. Because it plays a lot with like Bronson telling his story to a theater full of people, right? And he's on stage and he's like acting out stuff. And like some of the stuff Tom Hardy does is just like, you can't take your eyes off of it. We were all on the Tom Hardy train. We knew about the MySpace page. We knew about the cat he rescued while filming in Europe. Like, we knew all this stuff. And then,
I've heard that story.
Yes. And then, so, Mad Max Fury Road happens. And suddenly, other friends of mine get on the Tom Hardy train. And they understand how amazing Tom Hardy is and how precious. And we must protect him at all costs. And this comes into why I have my cats. Because one of my friends got really into Tom Hardy, found out about the MySpace page, found out about how he rescues animals, and she sees these two kittens abandoned underneath a car, and she's like doing her laundry, and this is a part of Astoria where there's like just a ton of stray cats and feral cats, and she's like, oh, well, tough luck for you, kits. And then she got down the block, and then all of a sudden her brain went, but what would Tom Hardy do? And so she was like, crap. So then she goes and she like tries to grab the cats. One of them bites her. She has to go and get like oven mittens to pick them up.
Was it boy cat?
It was when she first grabbed him.
Of course it was.
She was like, all right, so you have to name this one Furiosa because she bit me. And then it turns out that she was a he. So then we named him Nux because he was a war boy. But it also fitting because he had two like larvae on him that were eating him alive. So they were, they were like his two little buds on his, but they got removed and he recovered nicely. And then the other cat though, she was like, well, you have to name this one CJ because of that one Tom Hardy post where he rescued the cat and he named the cat CJ. This is a requirement. If you take these cats, you must do this thing. And I'm thinking, I mean, okay, I love Tom Hardy too, but CJ. So I go to Twitter. I'm like, okay, what can the C and the J stand for? I just don't want a cat named CJ. Mm-hmm. And some brilliant person on the internet went, well, obviously the C and the J stands for Capable Jupiter, like characters from the two greatest movies of 2016 being Mad Max Fury Road and Jupiter Ascending. And that's why I have two cats, one named Nux and one named CJ or Capable Jupiter because of Tom Hardy.
I want it noted that the amount of time we actually call them by their names is so minuscule that I have friends who just recently, like in the last 6 months, learned their names.
Yes. Oh, mind you, they're just boy cat, girl cat at home. So
that's very typical for cat owners, though. I feel also like true. Most cat owners I know don't call their cats by their full names 100% of the time.
But anyway, so Tom Hardy is beautiful and I love him. He is super into animal rescue. I'm pretty sure he just did this documentary because he was like, oh, I get to spend time in Africa petting like orphaned rhinos and elephants. Yes, please. Yes, I want to do this thing. And like, it's so funny because you watch him talking to people and he seems so uncomfortable. But the minute there's like a rhino, he's just like, and he just completely opens up and he's just petting the animals and he's just like, or he sees like some guy's dog and he's like, dog.
I mean,
I want to pet the dog.
I am, as the person at the party who finds the cat, I get it.
So with this movie, this 2018 Venom, like now we have the sequel coming out, and we made you watch the trailer as well. And I just find this quote really revealing because so this movie, the 2018 one, had 3 screenwriters and one was a woman. For the sequel, there's only one screenwriter who is the woman. She stayed on the project.
Kelly Marcel, yeah.
Yeah. But Tom Hardy is getting a story by credit, which is because supposedly, he didn't write any of it, but they supposedly spent months discussing the story together on FaceTime, just riffing on ideas, like being like, well, maybe we do this, or maybe we do that, or maybe we do this. And then she just pretty much collected everything they talked about and like wrote the script in like 3 months.
I wonder if this is basically just her job, because even though she's listed as the 3rd writer on the first one, the story by is the 2 other writers. So I wonder if this is just like her job to be like, oh, did you have an idea? Did you want to like make it work? Because I could make it work.
Yeah. And what I love is that she talks about how Tom Hardy, he's absolutely 100% committed to everything that he does. He's married to Venom. He loves this character. He's very involved what he thinks should happen, which gives me great hope for the sequel because like, I hope it maintains that kind of weird rom-com almost element to it, where it's more about relationships than like how cool and bad this is.
I think it will. And I do think that Venom accomplished both. Like, we can spend so long talking about the relationship between Eddie and Venom.
Oh, God, yeah.
And there were amazing fight sequences in this movie where my eyes were glued to the screen.
Yeah.
None of which required Tom Hardy to like rip off his shirt and reveal abs at any single point in time.
He looks like a feverish, disgusting, smelling bad mess practically the entire time.
I love that. I love that about the movie. It's so realistic. I'm like, yes. This is the hero we needed.
Especially, like, in the lobster tank scene. He's like, I'm just like, oh, my God, get this man a shower and maybe some cold packs. He doesn't look good.
But first, fresh lobster, because.
But first, fresh. Again, now I really want.
Freshest.
Now I really want sushi now.
The freshest of lobster.
This is dead.
This is dead. I did also appreciate that, as Nella pointed out, he like checks the boyfriend's face first also, of just like, are you a thing I can eat? Probably not. That might create issues later. Never mind.
I feel like in that moment, Venom was going for it, and Eddie was like, no! And we see, kind of like with the police officer where his face comes through on the helmet. I love the way they did that.
Yeah.
Wait. Before we get too off the rails, are we going to make an attempted plot summary, or is this like, this is a great movie, everyone watch it. If you haven't yet, just hit pause, watch it, then come back.
See, this is the kind of movie where I wish, like, that guy from Ant-Man could do the recap.
Yes.
Like,
100%. I wish Luis was here. It is Luis, right?
Yeah.
I think it's Luis.
All right, look, I'm going to do this very quickly. Okay, so the story of Venom is this. It's Rampage. It starts like Rampage, another 2018 movie, but things go even worse. But we're still dealing with, we took something to space that we shouldn't have, and it came back to Earth in a manner it shouldn't have, and that's bad, and we should feel bad. Okay, great. So, there is a crash, like a space shuttle crashes. Big deal. Happens in Malaysia. And one of the astronauts survives, which should have made everyone super sus, because you fell out of space? That's not how this works, but okay.
But, he didn't survive for very long.
Super sus.
So it's okay.
Super sus. Like, all right, here's the thing, everybody. If there is actually a survivor in something that has fallen from space, just walk the other way. Anyway, so the reason the astronaut survives is because he was carrying a symbiote, which then proceeds to pass itself through like several Asian women, which makes me a little, aw, come on. But this is the bad symbiote, so whatever, I guess. So anyway, so
we prefer the ladies for the longest
really went
time,
for all the ladies. this is when we meet our boy Eddie Brock, who's an investigative journalist. Really, he's just more of a YouTuber, but like, I don't know, like his whole shtick is like really weird. He should have just stuck to podcasting. And like, this really feels like who set this man up to fail? Because like, if you look at his like huge quotation mark, like journalistic style, which is super confrontational, super like opinianated, like
he's almost like a shock jock.
He is. He's like a pundit shock jock.
Yes.
And he's I believe he does he digs into stuff, but like he's confrontational, and it's just like, don't think he's gonna like softball an interview. Who did this? Again, he should be sticking to like true crime podcasting.
Well, I mean, his leather jacket and big black motorcycle are what should have really tipped you off, huh? I mean, the amount of that montage that was spent with him just kind of zipping around cars in his city.
Yeah.
with pre-symbiote. Like
pre-symbiote, yes.
But I mean, the sense we get from him is that, you know, he's really into revealing the inequities of life. Like but again, he's very confrontational. He's a bad boy. Like he was run. So I love this little like drop where he's run out of New York from the Daily Globe because he pissed off the wrong people. And I'm just like, see, that's that Spider-Man tie-in, because like these movies are considered like adjacent to the Tom Holland Spider-Man. So there's always this sort of possibility that they could pull in Venom into a Spider-Man, which is, and again, like that Spider-Man was lent by Sony to Disney to be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, even though like Sony still holds on to the Spider-Man stuff, which is kind of nuts when you think about it. Like the last bastion against the Disney beast.
Yeah, I don't know which fanboys were just like, if you don't have an Avengers with Spider-Man, I'm gonna die. You know, like I don't know who like held a knife to someone's throat and was just like, this has to happen.
Definitely a little bit more than a signed petition there.
Right?
No, wait. But Nella, you can't forget, on top of all of this bad boy, motorcycle riding, investigative reporter, whatever we would like to call that, mess.
Yes.
Sure,
He's a hot mess. He's a hot mess.
On
and honestly, he makes his own bed and he lies in it. He has no one to blame but himself.
You can't forget, he's got his like soft, squishy side where he's friends with the security guard and he knows all about the security guard's kids and where the kids are applying to college and where they went. He's friends with the woman who's unhoused and lives outside of Mrs. Chen's deli. And he has this great interaction with her. Love Mrs. Chen. If anything happens to Mrs. Chen, I will riot.
Riot.
Yes.
Riot for days. My favorite part about Mrs. Chen is just like, are you meditating like I showed you?
Yeah.
You have so much support, Eddie.
He does. He does. I mean, so I honestly think this movie, Venom, is a story about a man who doesn't know how much he just mindlessly consumes other people. So then he's infected with a parasite who literally consumes other people and himself, and he actually has to physically fight this manifestation because he's too dumb to understand what he's doing in real life. So like he needs like a literal space parasite physically actually doing the thing he is metaphysically doing to other people to get his life in order.
I mean, you may hear me out.
Not wrong. That and
the subtext just became text.
That, of course, and his crucial relationship mistake with Anne, or Annie, as he calls her.
Don't snoop. Don't snoop on your partner's things. Don't like just go into their phone. Don't go into their emails. Don't do it. Don't do that.
Particularly a work email. This is clearly something confidential. Maybe you accidentally saw the little sneak peek that pops up. That happens.
Yeah. But then you make the choice of actually logging in to look at her email. And actually, does he hit the the unread button afterwards so it's not obvious that he read it? I don't know. I think I missed that.
I mean,
I don't think they showed us.
Any investigative reporter worth his salt.
I bet he did. Because he knew what he was doing was wrong.
He absolutely knew what he was doing was wrong. And yet, opens the PDF, brings it up during his interview with Drake, whose first name is what again? Carlson? Something obnoxious.
Carlton?
Sorry, Carlsons.
Swear jar. I don't know.
Wait, I've got it open. Carlton Drake.
Carlton. Okay. There we go.
Carlton. The inferior Carlton, if there must be a Carlton, the only good Carlton is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air Carlton.
There can only be one. Drake had to die so that Carlton could grow stronger.
I mean, as much as I hate Carlton Drake, I love Riz Ahmed, so...
Yes.
So, Danielle, Nella
Yes.
and I had a running bet while we were watching this movie.
Okay.
That there would be a moment where you were like,
Swear jar.
do I hate Carlton Drake? And I'm
so upset that Joy won.
Should you each share when it moment was? Should I share when the moment was? I'm down for either. Joy, I think you should share as the victor. But then Nella, I kind of want to hear what you thought it would be.
Nella, you share yours because you had the idea first. Because she was like, I'll bet this is where Danielle is like, bleep that guy.
Okay, here's why. Because when we get down to our first unhoused person who is being experimented on by the bad Carlton, his name is Isaac, and our bad guy makes a big navel-gazy, galaxy brain speech about how, Isaac, son of Abraham, sacrificed his son. Don't you, blah, blah. And I was just like, see, this is where Danielle's going to be like, swear jar, this guy.
Wait, particularly when we get to the moment where Carlton says, this time I will not abandon us. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So you're God in this scenario.
Yes.
Cool. And
now,
then,
so that happened. And I went, I think it's earlier. I think it's when the little girl tries to ask a question and the class silences her. And he goes into this big thing about how no one, don't silence. They're silencing. God, what does he even say?
no.
Her.
And Joy is precisely right because everyone shushes the girl. And he goes, it's okay. Don't silence her. And then he goes over to her with his little insignia. And he's like, they try and silence those of us who ask questions. But in the end, we're the ones who change the world. And I was like, oh, this guy.
Yeah.
I am calling you out.
Yeah, it doesn't even get to ask her question.
She doesn't even get to ask the question.
You're in charge. Here's Dr. Skirth. Bye. And he just leaves. No, that's when I knew that he was, that's when I knew he was full of a word I cannot say because I refuse to be swear-jarred.
I'll get you yet, Danielle. I'll get you yet.
My teacher filter will never drop.
And your little cat, too.
Which, listen. Experimenting on unhoused people is a terrible, awful thing. Eugenics is a terrible, awful thing. Obviously, when it was revealed in the movie that that's what he was doing, I well and truly hated him and thought he was an evil person. But I had pretty strong negative feelings towards him about 7 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, no, he shows his true colors pretty fast.
Yeah.
So he blows this interview with Drake because, of course, Eddie blows this interview with Drake and his world proceeds to crumble around him.
Yeah.
His job dissolves. Annie leaves him and calls him on it immediately.
Rightly so.
And Annie does this throughout the film, and I love that so much that she's the one who's like, you did this. You could have avoided it, and you didn't. You did the terrible, awful, no good, very bad thing.
Yeah. And what I like is that the movie never does the thing where, but isn't she kind of an asshole for... No, she's right. She's right. And even like the guy that he was working for who fires him, he was right. It was like, where's your proof? Okay, but where was your proof?
Right.
And because Eddie didn't follow procedure. There is in journalism, there is a very specific way you tackle something that big. And he didn't. So he loses everything and he deserves to.
He ruined it.
Deserves to. And 6 months later, he is living in a in a fairly nice apartment in San Francisco, considering
Seriously.
he's lost everything.
Seriously.
Those
And
beautiful hardwood
jobless.
floors and the exposed brick.
I know, that would be like, oh God, that must be like a $3,000 apartment in that part of San Francisco. Like, you like, I can't even.
I don't know San Francisco prices, but I
love that they were trying to make it ugly, but I was also just like, he has a full living room, basically a kitchen with an island in it,
It's
bedroom,
all kitted
and a
out.
bath.
He's got like good furniture. He has a rug that really brings the room together.
Mhm.
Like, he's doing okay, Eddie.
doing okay.
wait. But when that 6 months later
Yes.
pops across the screen, the first thing that's actually shown after that is the biological interaction between the organism and the bunny.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bunny.
Funny.
But anyway, this is when we get into the thing with Drake and Dr. Skirth, where
Yes.
Drake would like to find human hosts for the symbiotes, and the way he's decided to do that is with absolutely zero scientific process, despite him being, a kind of a genius by the canon of the movie. I mean, yeah, they were like, oh, he came
You're
up
not
with this.
wrong.
Let's just throw random people into the room with this organism until we find one that works. That makes absolutely no sense, but fine.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of like product of hubris on both Eddie and Carlton Drake's side. Like, there was a lot of hubris in very strange and different ways.
Yeah.
Like, Eddie, his pride gets a little hurt, which is the reason he goes in the first place, because it's just like, it is my fault, but I'm not going to apologize. I'm instead going to get my life back, and like, that's why he goes. Like,
I was right all along.
I was right all along. And we were actually, Nella and I were like screaming at the screen, like, just because Drake happens to be a jerk and you also happen to ruin your life, both can be true. When they are not synonymous.
True. These are not mutually exclusive
These are not
scenarios.
mutually exclusive. The other thing about Drake is like, there's this weird like rush for him, and I'm like, if you wanted to bond with a symbiote, you should have just I expected that to happen way sooner,
Right.
and on his own terms.
Oh, I think he was just afraid to die. Because he clearly doesn't have a way to test whether or not a person is going to be a compatible host. So
I mean, that's fair.
And in his brain, he's too important
Exactly.
to be lost.
Exactly.
Like,
the world can't afford to lose his genius. Ugh.
yeah.
Leaves a bad taste in your mouth, doesn't it, Danielle? But yeah, so Eddie meets Venom quite violently. Because
Pour one out for Maria,
Maria, like,
his friend.
I also wonder, like, how Venom felt about, like, this trail of homeless carnage that he kind of left behind also. Like, he's also the only one who survives because Eddie broke in, which is another thing that is just like, and he's also, as he describes later, he's like, I'm kind of a loser where I come from. So, which I also just love, because it's just like, of course the loser fell like backwards into somebody who could actually also be a loser.
We could be losers together.
We could be losers together. And then the romance starts. No, well, close. But, but the, like the symbiote, there's some really great chase scenes.
Yes.
As Venom and Eddie sort of get this almost instantaneous, as Eddie is running away, like the symbiote helps him actually jump off a wall without even phasing. And I was just like, well, that's great.
I just love him up the top of that tree, just being like, I don't know what's happening.
What do I do? And then him on the motorcycle afterwards.
Yes.
Where Venom is basically jerking him around left and right, making sure he jumps at the right points. I mean, that entire scene made me think, like, this would make a great video game. But in that scene, I wouldn't want to play as Brock. You would have to play as Venom. And in order to survive the scene, your human symbiote must survive.
Yes. 100%. That's exactly how that works.
So great.
You are Venom, and you are controlling all of the elements in this situation.
See, now I'm
1000%
imagine. I can't even imagine how you do it. It'd be too complex. But I almost imagine like Octopus Dad, where it's like it's actually like a co-op, and like
Yes.
one of you is playing Venom and one of you is playing Brock, and you have to coordinate it, otherwise it doesn't work.
That would be such a complicated game, but I would
Yes,
love to play
I know
it.
it would. I can't imagine how it would work because Octopus Dad is so hard.
Are there game developers out there? This was our idea first.
Called it.
Anyway, can we just talk about the humor though of Eddie like and his neighbor and like the silent rage screaming and just like I've been there. I know that feeling, and the tater tots and the it's just so good. Tom Hardy is a gift. And also just like watching his fights again in the apartment against the people, and it's like the first time him and Venom is using him to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And the sheer physical ability of Tom Hardy to look like he's kicking Swearjaw, but completely not in control of Swearjaw's kicking.
Oh, exactly. Like he's being jerked around left and right, up and down. Oh, 100%.
I love it. I love watching it.
His absolutely perfect human reaction when he first sees Venom in that bathroom mirror.
So good.
I mean, screaming at the top of my lungs and banging into a bathroom wall and knocking myself unconscious is probably precisely what I would do.
Right? Realism. Who knew? Who knew we'd have realism in a movie about Venom, a symbiotic alien life form? I appreciate that this was my sort of first, well, to finish up the summary pretty quickly, because the rest of the plot happens sort of slowly, but also quickly in the weirdest possible way. Like it's, he eventually tells Annie and eventually gets the help of her new boyfriend, the doctor.
Real
Dr. Dan.
MVP. Big MVP.
Movie MVP.
Yes.
Well,
Dr. Dan.
And Anne.
Doc Dan.
Hard to pick between Doc Dan
Dr.
and
Dan.
Anne as movie MVPs. However, in my notes, when Dr. Dan first appeared on the scene, which is when, by the way, Brock shows up out of the blue outside of Anne's apartment, unannounced. Dan happens to be there and is just fine and not super aggressive and just
He
says,
doesn't
you know
give him
what?
any weird looks. Like,
Have your conversation. I'll be inside. Good to see you, man. Goes on inside. And my notes are just like, Dan seems like a nice guy.
mm-hmm.
And then later on in the lobster scene, when he immediately jumps in and literally saves everyone's skin, I was like, nope, I take it back. Dan's a great guy. Dan's a great guy.
Dan's the man.
he is the most solid of dudes.
Yes.
And we salute him.
We do.
This is how
We
it's
stand
done.
Dan.
X's everywhere.
And it's complicated and messy, and you know what? You deal with it.
I also just love that he both doesn't he doesn't appear to feel threatened at all. If he is threatened at all, he's he's obviously dealing with it himself in a tiniest kernel of his brain. But like even when Annie is just like, I mean, I guess do we need to talk about? And he's like, I don't care. No, he's fine. He's fine. Brock is fine. Can we address the symbiote that I just like plucked from his body with sound though? Oh, by the way, has since escaped.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Dan really keeps his eye on the true problem here.
He sees the larger picture. The symbiote finds a dog, which I felt a little bit bad for that dog. I hope the dog's okay after.
No, I think it's like the Anne thing where it's just like as long as he doesn't stay too long in the living thing, it just passes on, and maybe it takes a couple of days for your liver to sort of regenerate, but otherwise you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then Annie and Venom fuse to give us
sexy Venom.
Is there a name? Is there another name for her? Is she a different character in the Marvel thing?
I don't know. I'm not that much in the deep lore of Venom.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. There's a part of me that, you know how sometimes superhero movies will do a thing and they won't call it that, but it'll be like a hearkening back to something else in the comics.
I mean, I'm sure Venom has... Actually, hang on, I'm looking. The list of hosts. Spider-Man, Eddie, Scorpion, Flash Thompson, Lee Price, Malekith. No, Malekith? Malekith was with Venom? Wow.
I'm gonna gasp as if I understand the relevance
she was.
of this.
Well, hang on. But is it movie? Are we counting the movie? Nope. She first appears in Amazing Spider-Man number 375. She's Eddie Brock's ex-wife and a successful lawyer. Blah, 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 blah. Follows Spider-Man. Blah, blah, blah. Confronts Brock. Blah, blah, blah. And becomes She-Venom.
She-Venom.
Which,
I mean, we should have guessed. We should have known.
Because what's great... Sin Eater shoots her as part of a crusade against social injustice, and then she becomes She-Venom when the Venom symbiote temporarily bonds with her to save her life. She-Venom lashes out against the men who had hurt her.
Oh.
I don't know
some
why.
of us on this podcast love a female revenge story.
Oh, I love it. And so supposedly she was arrested on a false charge as part of a trap for Venom. She manages to warn Brock, who sends the symbiote to her, allowing her to become She-Venom and escape custody. No,
I just love the idea that we're just sending Venom in a box to people.
I know. You put Venom in a little shoebox and you sent... Oh, my God.
It's dangerous out there. Take this with you.
That's 100% what that is. Okay, well, She-Venom. I don't know why I expected literally anything else. It's fine. It's fine. Venom is an alien symbiote who goes by he pronouns, but doesn't have a... It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, there's a brief moment where Venom bonds with Carol Danvers.
Oh, God. God.
Supposedly she was able to go, nope, and eject it.
Nice. Love that.
Sure Carol Danvers is like, my body is a temple, get off.
Kicks him off like Indiana Jones, no ticket.
100% how that went. That's exactly how that went. But anyway, yes, so she brings Venom to Eddie and transfers him with a kiss. Because
now the thing is within fandom, and I love this debate, was it Venom or was it Anne? Or was it both? I think it was both. Both of them are like, I want to put my face against his face.
What if I make our faces touch? All right, I'm down. It's 100% how that happened. And then we had, the Riot Drake, Venom, Eddie fight. I do
glorious.
appreciate the Venom quote about he's got swear jar you've never seen. And then when it drops, then he's just like, I told you.
I mean, listen, those spikes and blades and whatever were pretty OP.
Yeah. No, Riot is what's funny is while I was watching this movie, and I thought of this the first time I saw it too, but there's a video game called Prototype, which does very similar things to this. It's a dude who's been infected by a thing, and his body starts to change, and he can do a couple of different things, but basically he can change his body into a weapon, or he can leap tall buildings, by literally running up the sides of them. He can turn his arms into bladed weapons. He can actually extend his whole body to shoot out from himself and kill people. And he can camo by eating someone's DNA and just becoming them, which is not a thing Venom can do. But I mean, I would argue that Venom could technically retreat and go back into his host body if he really decided to. So technically, I guess he can. But it was just funny because I was watching Riot and I was just like, this feels like Prototype. I feel like I'm playing the video game Prototype. This is exactly, and I press X to blade out.
Love it. I mean, like I said, I would for sure play this movie as a video game. 1000%. You know what? Maybe it already exists out there. I'm not going to look it up in this moment. Maybe I'll look it up after.
No, I know. Yeah. I think with all the Spider-Man games, but some of the Spider-Man games have taken a lot of evolutions to get really good. So I have a feeling they're probably sitting on a Venom game while like Spider-Man does some stuff. And then, because Venom is already kind of an outlier for fans anyway, I think.
Well, I mean, Venom's one of those examples of like, you know, when he was first introduced, it was all about Spider-Man. And it was about being like this sort of like a reflection of like your darkest parts kind of thing. And how like a quest for more power corrupts you and like swallows you whole. But then, I don't know, along the way we decided, actually, I don't know, Venom's kind of cool. And so they put him with Eddie Brock and, I mean, other people too. And like, it becomes more of an anti-hero instead of like this weird kind of like you are your own dark reflection.
Yeah.
Which I think works in comics, but not in video games.
I prefer this.
Yeah.
I'm here for the anti-hero rom-com that this movie is.
Yeah. Well, because what I love about it is, like, instead of being like, I'm your dark reflection and I bring out the worst in you, instead it's like, life's hard and you're kind of a mess and I'm kind of a mess. And I guess we'll just tackle it together. And I want to eat people and you don't want me to. And here we are.
What if we find this happy middle ground, this happy little compromise? Sure, we'll eat people, but they're going to be really bad people. You know, oh, I see you have issues. I have issues too. Oh, yeah it was all very good.
I appreciate that we can only eat really, really bad.
Really, really bad people.
All relationships require compromise and communication. Which is why the creation of Carnage is a problem, because Venom doesn't tell Eddie that, oh, by the way, I birthed a new symbiote and left it behind in a jail cell, and now it's kind of taken into a serial killer. But I'm sure we'll get to that in the second movie.
Well, see, I was going to say, I feel like it's a little unfair, the communication in this relationship, because Venom can read all of Brock's thoughts, and it does not go the other way around.
Yep.
It does not. Brock does not have that superpower.
You have to use your words, Venom, and you have to be honest. Although, can I just say, I love the bit where Venom's in the car and he's giving Brock advice, like relationship advice on like, hey, human, you should do the human thing and apologize for that awful thing you did because it was bad and you should feel bad.
And you might die. If you die, you will never have a chance to do this again.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, that's real
good advice.
Talk. It's good advice.
That's like, Venom, that's very insightful.
He's learning. He's growing.
I also love Venom's little, aw, that's nice at the end of that. I also appreciate the Venom of just like, you're basically my ride, which is just like, so Eddie Brock is the horse in this scenario. And I need to make sure my horse is watered and fed and sleeps, gets a good night's sleep, makes friends with all the other horses. Like,
it's so good. I don't know what it is about this movie. Maybe it's like when it came out and when it hit. And like, I mean, I remember like, going to see this because I was in Chicago trying to help a friend out, and like we just didn't have anything else to do in the evening. So like one night we saw Crazy Rich Asians, and it was alright. Like she was like, "Oh, this is all right." And then the next time we saw Venom, and we had a blast. And I don't know how else to describe it.
It's just a weirdly feel good movie,
right?
It is.
Last night, like I was talking to a friend, like, because I was like, I'm watching Venom for a podcast and it's so good. Why do I like this movie so much? And I feel like Eddie Brock is like the king of millennials, like as well. Like he's a mess and he's kind of bad at this, but like he sees injustice in the world and that makes him angry. But instead of like actually doing anything that's helpful, he just has like a YouTube channel,
I did actually turn to you at one point and I was just like, do investigative journalism often do interviews like this? And you went, no. And I was like, yes, he needs like a YouTube channel.
Exactly. I'm telling you, podcasting. He needs to get into podcasting.
He's going to try the written word first, Nella. We'll see how that goes for him. Now, I mean, I think my reason for liking the movie is much, much, much simpler. In this movie, the bad guys lose and the good guys win.
Yes.
And everyone grows to be a better person than they were before. It's great.
That's it.
I like to see it. It's unproblematic. It is a happy place. That's good.
It's true. Although after watching this, I realized, oh no, wait, Venom is in Spider-Man 3.
Oh, I've just forgotten. Nope.
Did
Doesn't
you not
exist.
remember that?
I have not remembered a lot about Spider-Man 3. I saw it once,
Do you now remember Tobey Maguire walking down the street like?
Well, no,
Saturday
I remember
night?
that because of the memification of that. I mean,
Yes.
we'll never forget that.
But I just love that, like, his darker side is just like using hair gel.
He has the same freaking hairstyle as Kyle MacLachlan in Showgirls. Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't, because you're not.
I don't know what is up with that movie. All right. Anyway, so Venom is great. It balances the line between like weird body horror and like, well, maybe human life is worth saving. Actually,
Yes.
Mayhaps.
you know, Venom falls in love with Earth, and it's tasty humans. The end.
Heads, brains, lungs, pancreases. I was going to say, I feel like for one more thing, if we all took like 10 seconds and found our favorite Venom quote, that might be kind of funny.
That might be fun. Like, so mine is just weird because of the circumstances it's in. My favorite thing that Venom says is before Eddie really understands what's going on, and he's on a phone call to Annie, and all you hear is food. It gets me every single time. It's just so loud, and it takes over all the speakers, and all you hear is food really loudly. And he's just like, I don't know, I'm hearing things, man. I don't know what's happening right now.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I feel like the way they introduce Venom to Brock's world is so well done.
Yes.
Like it is exactly as disorienting as that would be. Okay, Nella, shall I go? Are you taking a moment? Okay.
I'm thinking.
Okay, so mine is at the end of that scene where Drake's goons knock on the apartment door, break in, and the apartment fight happens. After the apartment fight is over, Venom just goes, outstanding. Now let's bite off all the heads and pile them in the corner. And Brock is just like, why would we do that? And Venom is like, piles of bodies, piles of heads. I have never heard a more reasonable argument. Piles of bodies, piles of heads. He wants his snacks organized, y'all.
I just love that at the end of the at the end when they go to the bodega and Eddie asks what culinary delights will tickle the pickle tonight, and Venom says tater tots and chocolate.
Yes, excellent choice.
What a beautiful monster he is. I love him to
Beautiful
bits.
monster. And I mean, look, but if we're going for like my favorite like Eddie quotes, the way Tom Hardy says apparently I have a parasite is chef's kiss.
He says it like 3 or 4 times.
It's just so good.
He comes crashing through a window, and they're like, "Whoa, how'd you do that?" And he's like, "Apparently, I have a parasite."
That's the one.
Apparently, I have a parasite.
I just need to have one hot take before we wrap this up. Hear me out. Columbo reboot. Tom Hardy as Columbo. I think he could do it. He has like the awkward. I know he would have that beautiful awkward shuffle. Like he looks like he's not paying attention. Tom Hardy for Columbo.
Yes. You heard it here first, listeners.
Put it out into the universe so that someone will.
That's how that works, right? If I say it, it'll happen.
If I say it enough.
Loudly. With feeling.
With feeling.
Okay, y'all. I think we did it.
Yeah. No, I think we talked about Venom. I enjoyed that. I enjoy Venom a lot. See it, enjoy it, love it, bring it into your life.
Yes.
You won't regret it.
Absolutely not. Okay, listeners, we would love to hear from you. Please check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, which untold MCU story do you think deserves a movie? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/BachPod.
That's right. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell the live lobsters in your life about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time.
You can
Channing
also
Tatum's
email us.
Gambit.
Channing Tatum's Gambit.
Channing Tatum's Gambit. Let the man finally play Gambit.
Just let him live.
Let him live. Let him film this movie in his favorite city.
In purple.
In purple. You know he'd wear purple.
Oh,
He just
so
wants to train to
dreamy.
use the staff.
The man gave us Magic Mike XL. For God's sakes, let him have his passion project. His other passion project, which is Gambit.